Dennis Tucker. I'm the publisher of Whitman Publishing. And I know that I would not be here today if it weren't for the United States Mint. And Whitman Publishing would obviously not be able to do what it does if it weren't for the products and the artistry of the U.S. Mint. I'm happy and proud to say that our company has a great relationship with the Mint. And I've been a collector since I was 7 years old. And I remember the first U.S. Mint commemorative coin that I purchased was in the Statue of Liberty set. And our guest today, John Mercanti, has worked on the Statue of Liberty coins and many others. And we're really honored to have him here speaking with us in Philadelphia. John, your title is a Chief Engraver, Chief Engraver of the U.S. Mint, which of course is a position that has a long history, and it's just an honor to have you here speaking with us today in this historic city. Without further ado, I'll introduce John Mercanti.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. My name is John Mercanti, for those of you who haven't met me, but a lot of you have, and my staff is here, I'm proud to say, so you'll get to meet some of the engravers who actually make our coins. And let me, without ado, introduce them to you. Here we have Joseph Mena, right behind Don Carlucci. Joe was responsible for bringing digital technology to the United States Mint in, let's stand up, in about 5 years ago. What year did you come, Joe?
4 years ago.
About, yeah. So Joe was the, I call him the Yoda of this technology. He's our Star Wars aficionado and extremely talented. Next to him is Phoebe Hempel. Phoebe's been with us for a number of years. She comes from the toy industry. And let me say that a lot of my staff comes from the toy industry, and they still work in the toy industry. They're very successful sculptors in the toy industry, Joe especially. And Phoebe's been with McFarlane, and if any of you collect toys or action figures, you probably have Phoebe's, something that Phoebe did. Over here is Jim Lickeritz. Jim is also one of my sculptors. Jim comes from California. He was with the toy industry, and I coaxed him east a couple of years ago. And I don't know whether he ever forgave me for that, but we are best friends, and we've been friends for a long time. Over here is Charlie Vickers. Charlie comes from the Franklin Mint private industry, and very successful sculptor in his own right. Has done many medals, many coins, and I always said there's nothing on the earth that Charlie cannot reproduce. Charlie's amazing. Next to him is Renata Gordon. Renata is, stand up, Renata. Renata is my intern. Renata's been with us for a little over a year. She's a very exceptional draftsman and sculptor, and she's picked up this digital technology almost immediately. Okay, so what I've done is I've put a little talk together today, and let me give you some history about myself at the Mint. I came to the Mint in 1974. I was working with the government. I was working, there were a number of government agencies. I worked for the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and I was an illustrator, did an extensive amount of work illustrating. And I applied for a position at the Mint, never thinking that I got it in 1974, and just walked away. And about 7 months later I called and talked to Mr. Gasparo, and I said, whatever happened to that job? He said, we've been looking for you, but we couldn't find you. So he said, you got the job. He said, when do you want to start? So I started at the Mint in March of '74, and went back to school, took courses in sculpture, worked with some of the prominent sculptors at the time, some of the prominent numismatic sculptors of the time, and more or less put my portfolio away and just concentrated on that. So I've been there ever since, and the total of government service is 45 years to date. Now, in the mints, in the vaults of the Mint, are a lot of historical items, and in 1984 or '85, under the Freedom of Information Act, a young gentleman came in and photographed a lot of our materials. I think he photographed everything, and I actually spent 3 or 4 weeks working with him. And what we're going to do is kind of just breeze through that. Listen up. There you go. In the midst of, in the vaults of the Mint, we have a considerable amount of material. And my staff knows, because my staff goes in there on a regular basis. We use it as reference. And one of the things we have is some of these beautiful plasters that go back to the early 1900s. Masterpieces in themselves. We have a lot of patterns that we use, we utilize. We've utilized these over the years. We have them on display. We have artists' working models from the early 19th century, and just some of the most beautiful things. Isn't that gorgeous? These are absolutely some of the most beautiful portraits that were ever rendered. And these oddly enough were rendered. If you go back in our archives, these were rendered in a red wax. Some of the archival stuff we have is red wax models, our red wax models, and we can actually see these now. Something like this. This is something I actually picked out of the trash. Somebody was throwing out at one point, and I realized what it was and jumped into the dumpster, and I picked out 5 or 6 pieces. Yeah, I'm noted for that. That's going down in history. I think this one too. So a lot of these I don't personally know what they relate to, but if you're a collector, you will know what they relate to. These are the original models for the Buffalo nickel. These models are what, about 4 inches, guys? Small. This is about 4 inches in diameter. So they look very large, but they're actually very small and very beautifully rendered. And when we did the Buffalo 24 karat gold, we got all this detail in here, and just an amazing. It's an amazing piece. One of the most beautiful pieces we have. I'm just going to scan through some of these and let you see them. Just stunning stuff. Just beautifully rendered, beautifully modeled. This is a Barber Lincoln that's from the metal. In fact, I did a copy of this myself. I really enjoyed that. We found out that we didn't have the original artwork. We thought at the time we didn't have the original artwork, and I was a young sculptor, so I had to actually counterfeit this one for our metal program. And the Mint in the 19th century did a lot of, oddly enough, this is a lot like the new penny design. No, I come to think of it, when you look at it. I haven't seen this in years, but it replicates to a great degree the new 2010 penny reverse. Gorgeous stuff, just absolutely stunning. And there's really not much you can say. As I was beginning to say, in the 19th century and the early 20th century, the Mint did a lot of private work. They did a lot of metals. They rendered a lot of metals and generated a lot of sculpts for the outside churches. In our vaults, there were a lot of church metals. This is one of the other things I found in the trash. I could never find the top piece. I was always a little upset I couldn't find the rest of it. But I really don't know who it is. But it's just a beautiful. What's it say down here? Philadelphia, 1862, I think it says. Just some of the most beautiful. And this is the 1909 VDB working model. We have a number of these. We have the plaster. We have a galvano, and this I think is a silver galvano we have. And what we're doing in 2010, we've been instructed by the director of the Mint to reinstate or reinstall the original 1909 artwork. So what we do is we take the VDB portrait and remove the old portrait and then lay this portrait in. I'll explain that later on in the program. And that's it. Now how do I get back to, where'd you go? Where'd the expert go?
I'm not the expert, but
I have to get to the second one. Hang tight. Is it all right?
I just pause it
Okay.
until they're,
You guys are being filmed for posterity.
the risque stories, no.
Yeah, you know.
John, are these materials still in our possession?
Yeah. Well, we're starting to leave our possession now. They're going, a lot of them are in Washington. I'm getting a little nervous about that.
Is that Indian head, the St. Gardner's eagle head? Never seen that in Philadelphia. Not the eagle, the headdress.
Oh, that's in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's in
Oh, yeah,
Philadelphia.
that's in Philly.
Oh,
Oh, it's in the vault.
oh, okay.
Oh, it's in the vault, yeah.
How about the standing liberty quarter? Is it, you ever heard of that?
The,
Standing liberty quarter, the one that they covered breast or whatever?
we have a, who was that? The quarter that they covered the breast. McNeil. It was McNeil. Yeah.
John, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Some of these galvanos and plastics that you have some of them escaped the mint? Because there's one there, it looks like the Connecticut tree.
Yeah.
Somebody has it down on the floor.
Well, the plaster?
Yeah, really.
I have to go look. No, the thing is that in the old days, the security wasn't as tight, and typically the chief engraver at the time, like you go back to Sinnock, you go back to Roberts, you go back to Gasparo, they would take plasters home to work on them. I did it in my early career. I would take plasters home to work and bring them back. But you know, security tightened up and it got to the point where you can't do that anymore. So in the collections of the past chief engravers, you find a lot of stuff. Now, when Frank Gasparo died, we went to his house with the Mint legal counsel to go through all his plasters to see if there was anything there related to the Mint, and there wasn't. He had like 400 or 500 plasters, but well, Don knows. Don was there, and it just the whole wall was just lined up with rows and rows and rows and rows of plasters. And the funny thing about plasters is I never realized that if you leave plaster in a damp area, it will disintegrate, it will deteriorate, and that's exactly what was happening to Frank's stuff. A lot of it was ruined. You remember going through all that stuff. All right, what are some of the other things I've done? I've gone through the vaults and found some great photos from our early history. Now, this is, what was his name? This Frenchman did this. It's Lamazure, I think his name was. And it was done actually in 1913, after the mint was razed, the original mint was razed. And these are some photos of the original mint. They're great, isn't it? And I'm really a bug on this stuff. Now, I happened to go over to the insurance company. My father worked for an insurance company that actually insured the mint in 1792. So I went over to the insurance company and I got the policy. I actually have a copy of the policy. And in the policy was this drawing of the mint. And it walks you, now these photos are historic photos that they took right before they demolished the mint. Has anybody ever seen these before? Never? Really?
Go slowly, please.
I'll go back. I'll go very slowly.
Yeah. 5 seconds each.
5 seconds each.
John, have you?
Am I going to see these in a book at some point?
Actually, yes.
It's public. It's public.
Joel Oro is working on a book.
Yeah.
And have you talked to him and Len Augsburger?
No.
Oh, you've probably got some material that they'd be interested in.
They'd be interested. Well, these were in our historical archives, and I was really afraid that they'd get lost. So I put them aside, and I think they're exciting. You know, at my age, this excites me, so it tells you how old I am, you know. But this is, these are some real great photos. Down in the basement of the Mint. This is the backyard. Yeah, put me in touch with whoever you want. Well, you'll have this stuff now. So once again, down in the bowels of the Mint. Now, when we go down to the bowels of the Mint, we go way below ground. Inside hallway, dead end corridor. I'm sorry, I'll go back one. It's great. It's just to think that they it took them a year to mint 1 million coins, and what we do today, we do 1 million coins in an hour now, you know, less than an hour. Now this is a Dunmore painting. You'd think this was an old master, but it's not. It doesn't even look like an old master, but it was, once again, was painted in 1913. And it shows Martha Washington inspecting the coins. And as you know, tradition says she gave her silver for the coins. This is the second mint. The second mint was at Broad and Juniper. And the only thing that exists of the second mint today are these pillars. And they're up on Temple's campus in North Philadelphia. And I do want to go up and photograph them and include them in this at some point. These are the only historic photos we could find of the second mint. Then, you're going to love this. This is some of the architectural devices for the third mint. They had photographed all the architectural devices for the third mint.
Do you know who did those?
No, no. I don't think anything's been signed or anything. It just says received, look, 1839, March 9th, 1839. I'm assuming they were done in Philadelphia. They might have been done in Europe. But just absolutely stunning stuff. Once again, a series of photos I had for years and wanted to make sure that they were here for posterity. And I'm glad somebody took the time to actually photograph these, and so that we'd have them today. Just absolutely beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? Now we have a copy of something like this on our mezzanine. I'm not sure whether it's the same one, but it's something like that. And where this building stands today is Community College of Philadelphia. We have one of these outside in our in the front of the mint. We actually have 2 eagles outside in the front of the mint. Now these are some of the building and the excavations of the grounds. You guys have never seen these either, have you? Okay.
This the Spring Garden Street?
This is Spring Garden. This is when they built Spring Garden. I can see the numismatists getting very exciting in the crowd. I mean, really. And these, like I said, have never been published to my knowledge. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's just to see the construction of this. And then, of course, we end up with our mint. And so that's it. It's we have one more quick one. Can you come back and get my last one? The sculpt. It took maybe another week or two. Okay, that's it. It took maybe another week or two to do the well, first the drawing, then the sculpt, and then the reductions. For those of you who are into numismatics, you might know that we did the reductions on Janvier machines. They don't exist anymore. Janvier machines were, in order to make a reduction on the Janvier machine, you had to make a galvano. Galvano was made by taking a negative plaster, dusting it with copper powder, immersing it in an electromagnetic, what do they call it? Electrolytic bath. And then 3 days later, you pull it apart and you have a model. You have this copper model. That model, in turn, was put on the Janvier. I think I have a Janvier in here, and it would take 3 or 4 days to make a reduction. With the Janvier, you were never guaranteed a good reduction. There was sometime the machine would stop, the cutter would break. There were times, I don't know whether Jim remembers, in the old days, we would have to make as many as 20 reductions to get one good tool, but that's not the pardon me. And clean them all. And with the advent of new technology and digital technology, that's not the case anymore. When I came to the Mint, all the sculptors were working with paper. We were doing overlays, and some of the senior staff work like that. In the beginning, we would do overlays and make overlays, redraw. If something on the drawing wasn't right, we'd have to go back and redraw it again if we wanted a 10% reduction. Well, now all my staff works on what we call Wacom boards. These are boards, digital drawing boards, for lack of a better word, and they work in Photoshop. And when they work in Photoshop, every element is put on a different layer. So if they want to change the size, reduce the size, alter the image, they go into that layer and they can do that. And this is Joe Mena working on the George Washington dollar. And this was one of your first jobs, wasn't it? It was his first, yeah. Joe got Washington, and I think he got Jefferson, yeah, that year. So Joe's working in all, he brought this technology in, and we started working with it, and we started moving into it very slowly because some of the senior staff was a little reluctant to change, but ultimately we moved into it. They took to it and they just ran with it, and we never looked back. So it's really been very interesting. This is Jim working under working in the classical style under light, working on a plaster. Some of my staff still prefers to work in clay. Some prefer to work on screen digitally. Now, this is Joe working on the 24-karat gold buffalo model in virtual reality. Now, Joe can actually sculpt a model from scratch in virtual reality right now, and that's something we could never do in the past. And we can actually adjust the height of relief. We can lay the lettering out. Let me go back just a minute. Let me explain this real quick. When we do the model, this basin in the past, we used to make it by hand years ago. I used to sit there all day and make this basin. It was a long, tedious process. It would take a week to make a basin. But now we can actually make and they were never true. As an example, if you measured a basin at this point and this point and this point, you get 3 different measurements. They was all over the place. But in virtual reality right now, we can measure these and get a completely perfect basin with what we call a parabolic basin, which comes up and then rises to the shoulder height, or a basin with a curve on it, with an arc that goes right to the top. So we're experimenting with both types of basins right now. But what Joe can do is Joe can focus on the image, and then that image is taken and just laid right on that true basin. And then we build the letters. We have people that, we have engineers that build the letters. Right now, all the artist has to do, or the sculptor has to do, is to concentrate on the image. That's all we have to do. In the past, we would have to cut all the lettering out by hand, and I'll show you that in a minute. And here you have one of my engineers working on the basin, laying out all the text. And in the past, when I was a young engraver and sculptor, we would have to take a negative model, lay out all the letters in the negative state, and then cut them backwards by hand. Go into the positive state, modify them, move them, turn them around. So it was pretty tedious. But we've eliminated all that now. So it's really very interesting. And you can see he can take that basin in virtual reality and move it in any direction he wants. And this is what we get when we're finished. Now, for those that wish to model in the classical sense, this is what we furnish the sculptor. The sculptor has the basin with all the text on it, and as I said, all the sculptor does is concentrate on the image, models on the image. Now here's Phoebe modeling hers. Now Phoebe can work in the classical, using the classical method, or she can work in the new digital method, using digital techniques. This is Norm Nemeth. He's one of my sculptors. He's working on the Byron Nelson medal. Now this is the way we used to do it in the old days. We would be furnished a blank plaster with nothing on it, absolutely nothing. We would draw the image on the plaster and then begin to sculpt. And it might take us a week to get to that point. From there, we would make a negative model. From the negative model, we would hand cut every letter in a negative state. Then we go back to the positive model again, and then we would refine it. And you might go back 3 or 4 times. It was never a cut and dry case. And ultimately, you would end up with a negative. Well, this is going back again. You'd end up with a positive model again. Now here I am, this is how we did it. We actually took, this is me mixing plaster actually. This is for Dorothy Height, and I'll explain that. This metal we did in some kind of record time, like 11 days or something, because they were having the ceremony at the Capitol, and this was the reverse of Dorothy Height. And here I am mixing the plaster, pouring the plaster over the wax model, and we take a blower so we can blow all the bubbles out. Very carefully band it. We unband it. We turn it upside down, flatten it out, and separate it, and this is what you get. You get this. And here I am cutting the letters into that. Now, there was a lot of text in here, and when we got the model done, this is ultimately what it looked like. Now, this is the Janvier machine. The model would be put on one side of the Janvier machine. A steel bar, cut steel bar, would be bolted into this side, and this is like a long pantograph. And what happens is it starts from the center of the model and the center of the die, and they begin rotating clockwise. And as they're rotating, this arm is dropping. This arm is dropping on both sides. And as it's dropping, it's tracing on one side and it's cutting on the other. So at the end of 3 days, you have a steel negative model. And there it is. It's cutting into that. And as I said, these were pulleys. I mean, I want to see if you could see the pulleys. These were all, well, on this end here, but you can't see them. They were all pulleys. There were bands, and it was just it was actually a 19th century machine. They were descendants of the jewelry lathes. Now we can model directly on screen. Jim, was this yours?
Yeah.
Now Jim modeled this portrait directly on screen. He didn't use no clay at all. There was no clay used at all in this. And there he is modeling that. Now this is one of the programs we use. It's called Freeform. It was developed for sculptors, and it enables us to go into virtual reality, like I said, and actually model. And he can actually take the model, he can rotate it at different angles, and he can actually measure the height of relief from one point to the field if he has to. So we actually know, and we work in thousands. I mean, we work in, what's the height of relief on an obverse? Like 50 to 75,000. So think of what 50, 75,000 is. It's not very much. And thousandths of an inch in our business, and I mentioned this last night, is like climbing Mount Everest. I mean, sometimes half a thousandth is too much. So this is just the nature of what we do. And that's it. That shows you everything we're doing right now. So it's really an exciting time to be with us right now. It's an exciting time for artists. It's an exciting time for my outside artists. I have a staff of outside artists that we call, under what we call the Artistic Infusion Program. And they submit designs, and they come back to us, and we evaluate them, and some of them have been very successful. So that's it. I'm glad you came, and thank you for your patience. And is there any questions? Okay. Yes, I have a question over there.
One thing that I remember something that we were talking about the forming the basin.
Yeah.
It brought me in mind the 24 karat gold buffalo coin. Because
Yeah.
I noticed, how textured the surface. Now, was that done in a similar manner? You're using the computer program.
Well, that was a matter of
to create
taking
basin?
the original model, scanning that in. We have a scanner. We have a high-tech scanner, and that scanner takes that model and scans it into virtual reality. Then we can take that basin and actually adjust it on either end so that it becomes a true basin. Now, if we're
with that texture.
Yeah. Yeah. Just as an example, with this technology, if we do what we call trial strikes prior to doing production, actual production. So if we go into trial strikes and we find that, just say the tip of the nose of a certain portrait doesn't come up, we can go back into virtual reality, segregate that piece of the nose, and actually lower it, reform it, and have a tool virtually overnight. So that's the nice thing about all this technology today. So anything else? That's it. Thank you again. I appreciate your patience.